Okay, so now I'm going to take you through how to do the Tumblr mock demo. Okay, that's this one on the left. So let's just watch this for a minute to see what it does. Okay, we have a login screen, password. We click, there's a little bit of a delay. Now it's going to the home screen. Okay, looks like I can click through the tabs here. I can click on the liked button, go back from the like button, go back home, and finally create a post and return from that. Okay, so we're gonna make a project just like that. So let's open a new Android Studio project. We're gonna call this Tumblr demo. Click on next. Okay, I'm okay with this. Phone checked, API 18, 4.3 Jelly Bean, we're good. Blank activity, next. What are we gonna call the main activity? Well, I'm gonna call this one login activity. Here's something to note. On your activities, make sure both words are capitalized and they're squished together. Okay, that's a naming convention, and you're gonna wanna do that. Capitalized both and squished together. All right, so finish, and it's gonna go ahead and create our project. All right, so a few things that I'm gonna do right off. I'm gonna go right into Android preferences and editor, general appearance. Show line numbers is already on from our last session, but if it hadn't been, we'd wanna make sure we selected that there. Okay. Next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna add our images. So remember, up here, we always want this to be in our project for what we're doing, project, okay? We're going to open up app, that's where our stuff is. If we go to source, src, we can get at the main. Here we have our Java files, and then in res, we have layout. Here are our XML files and drawable, right? This is where all our images are gonna be. Okay, so what you're gonna wanna do is navigate to where your images are. A lot of times we call the images for an app, we call them the assets. So I have my Tumblr assets right on my desktop here. So if I open up Tumblr assets here, I can hit Command A, select them all, right? Or Shift, click, select them all some way, and then unfortunately you can't just drag them in, right? That's sort of the natural thing these days, is to drag them in. But what you're gonna do is you can right click, you can hit copy. Now you go to your drawable, you're going to right click on that and hit paste. It's gonna ask you, do you wanna copy those? And you say, yes, I do wanna copy those. Okay, and so now here are all your pictures. Now if I double click on that, I can actually see. So there's our Tumblr icon. Here's our account screen, activity screen. Notice how these are all named so you can kind of tell what they are. So for instance, the search page is our search page. SCN, that means screen. That's just a screenshot. TB, that's for Tumblr. And then search. Now most apps, you're gonna be referencing your images from the web, right? They're going to be going out, getting images, putting them into your app. They're not going to necessarily be stored locally, but for our mocks, they are. So one thing we need to do is go down here to Android Manifest. Okay, it's right over here. Now, somewhere in this application area, in this tag, okay, you don't want to. Sometimes you'll think, oh, I'll add it here. And then you're like, oh, why doesn't it look like the other Android? Because it's not on the other side of there, right? It has to be left of that little sign, greater than. Okay, so we're gonna add Android, colon, something called LargeHeat. And I hit LA, and I got LargeHeat here, okay? And that's gonna be true. Basically, this is going to allow our app to use a little more memory. Otherwise, if you have a lot of pictures in there, sometimes it can crash. Okay, so back to our main activity, our login activity. So remember, we want to change it for what we're doing to absolute layout. So if I double click there and type AB, already I have absolute layout. We're going to change that. Now remember, we can get rid of now all this padding stuff. So we want to keep the height and width. We want to get rid of all this padding, but we want to keep the tools there, okay? Good, so now let's go back to design here. Okay, and we're not seeing anything. Okay, remember, it's this rebuild thing. If you click on that, and sometimes you click on it twice, or once, or be patient, it should be okay. Let's try one more time. Okay, there we go. All right, now, this hello world thing was nice, but we don't need that, so I'm just gonna click over here and delete that. Okay, so we need to put the background image on our screen, and the way we can do that is by adding this thing called an image view. Image view is a view, kind of a container where images can live. All right, so I'm just gonna drag this drop here. Now, we're gonna want the view to take up the whole screen, and right now you can see it's not over here. I can try to drag it over here, but sometimes it's hard to get it right over there. So you can see over here my properties, where my layout, my x coordinate is 2 and my y coordinate is 2. Okay, we want those actually to be 0 and 0, and that'll get it in the most upper right corner. This is a good time to take a look at how the screen coordinates are laid out, because it's a little different than I would have thought. Typically, like in school, in math class, you always graph, and this is 0, 0 here, right? And then you go up your y and you go up, this is increasing x, but it's a little different in, okay, so let's take a look at the screen coordinates of the phone. This is your origin, right? 0, 0, 0x, 0y. If we go all the way to the right, that would be 768, because that's what the dimensions of this phone are, and then y, 0. If we go down, we'd have 0, 1280. So y increases as you go down, x increases as you go to the right. If we go all the way over to the farther corner, that would be 768 by 1280. So remember, when we're talking about origin, it's 0. Sometimes when you think increasing y makes it go down, sometimes it's a little counterintuitive if we're always used to 0 being here and increasing y being there. Okay, now another way that I can quickly get it to that 0, 0 origin, I'm just going to go ahead and delete this for a minute. Instead of dragging it here, I'm actually going to drag it all the way up to this thing called the component tree, and I'm going to put it into this absolute layout container. And then it's nicely just at x, y, 0, 0. And it's set to wrap the content of whatever I put in it. And it's so small right now because I don't have anything in it. So it's wrapping nothing. Let's put a picture in it. So let's go down here to SRC. That stands for source. That's the source for the image. We'll click on the square here. And now I can scroll down and I can see at the bottom here, these are all my assets right here, right? Those are all my different screens. So let's add the login screen. Okay, there we have it. But wait a second. What is all this white space on the side? Well, I sized this screen to, this image to take up the whole screen, but we have this thing called an action bar up here. Now the action bar can be very helpful in Android apps. You may want to use it in some, but for what we're doing, we're actually going to disable it. So let's head on over back here to the left side. We're going to go to this thing where it says values and styles. Double click on that. Here it says name, app theme, parent. And over here where it says dark action bar, we're going to delete that. Now remember what we can do? If we want to see what our auto-complete options are, we can, from the period, we can hit Control space. So here are our auto-complete actions. So look at the first one, no action bar. Okay, that's exactly what we want, no action bar. So now I'm going to close values here. And when we go back to our layout, you can see the action bar disappears, and now we have the full screen.